is Julie Pearson Littlefender. Today is Monday, April 4th, and I'm interviewing Colleen Branson for the Cowboys in Every County series, sponsored by the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program at Oklahoma State University. Colleen, I understand you were a journalism major at Oklahoma State, and you have been director of the Mannford Public Library for almost 13 years now, just shy a month. That you're also involved with the Manford Pilot Club, the Historical Society, and that you are an avid animal rescue person. I look forward to hearing more about your life, your OSU memories, and your current work. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me.
Thank you.
Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico. My dad was a Marine, and so he was stationed at a Marine Corps or military base at the time. And
how wonderful.
It would be if I remembered it. We left, I think I was just over a year old, and I've lived in Texas, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Virginia, and Louisiana.
Wow. Changing schools a lot.
Yeah.
You mentioned what your dad did for a living. How about your mom?
She was a homemaker.
And brothers and sisters? Or?
I have two older brothers. My oldest brother, Paul, is the senior graphic designer with OSU. And he actually received his bachelor's and master's from OSU. And my middle brother, Scott, he got his bachelor's in management science and computer systems from OSU. And he now works in Texas for, I think he works for a city doing computer stuff. You can tell I'm really interested in his job.
Well, were you in Louisiana for part of high school then?
I graduated. I went to 11th and 12th grade in Louisiana, too close to New Orleans.
Right. What was that like?
Oh, it was fun for a teenager. It was a lot of fun. Been to Mardi Gras, been to the French Quarter and Bourbon Street and all that stuff that you get to see on TV.
Right,
so,
right. And
yeah.
And graduated around what year?
I graduated in 82. And then right after that we moved up here we moved to Stillwater because my dad retired from the Marine Corps and started teaching at OSU.
And in what field?
He taught public relations, and then after his PhD, he was in mass communications.
Right. So you have memories of Stillwater, too.
Yes, I do.
In addition to college experiences. What were some of the schools that stood out for you that you attended? Bearing in mind that you attended a number of them, but
I think Quantico, I spent quite a bit of time in Quantico, Virginia, which is a Marine Corps base, and it also has the FBI Academy there, so it was kind of a neat place to be in. I went to 3rd through 6th grade there.
Kind of a special culture, I imagine.
Yeah, yeah. I have a lot of fond memories of going to the pool. You know, and you had to buy this little tag and stick it on your bathing suit, and so it was good times. And then high school was a lot of fun, like I said, being close to New Orleans and the French Quarter.
Right. What was your favorite subject in school?
Reading, English.
Good for a librarian.
Yes, it is.
Because I was wondering if there was any early school experience that kind of foreshadowed your interest in being a librarian?
Oddly enough, I remember in the 6th grade, this is a really strange story. My 6th grade teacher, Mr. Hall, apparently was an alcoholic, and he would drink in class, and yeah, we didn't care. We got to do our own thing, and I spent a lot of time in the library. And I remember going through all the fairy tale books from different countries, reading every single one that I could. So that's maybe it goes back all the way to 6th grade.
Wow. Did either of your parents attend college?
My mom did not. She became a homemaker just as soon as, my brother was born about a year after they got married. My dad, trying to remember, he has numerous degrees. I know that he has a degree in psychology from the University of Wisconsin. And I know he was the editor at the newspaper at Quantico. But I'm not I don't remember if he has a journalism degree or not. Which is probably why I went into journalism.
Mm-hmm. You got to go to his workplace a couple times?
No, actually I didn't. But just, I think knowing that that's what he did, and he seemed to enjoy it a lot. And when I got to OSU, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Did they encourage you to go to school there since your dad was there?
Yes. I'm hesitant to say this. I was 18 and living at home. My dad said you need to either get a job or go to college. So I got a job and went to college.
Where were you working?
I worked at Wendy's for a long time. I can't remember how many years, but I worked at Wendy's, and then I worked at Long John Silver's. I worked 1 week at Winchell's Donuts, which was next to Wendy's. I don't think it's there anymore.
They're in Stillwater.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you were both working and going to school?
Yes.
How many credit hours did you take initially?
I would take anywhere from 12 to 18 a semester.
That's a good load. Did you know entering college then that you wanted to major in journalism, or?
No. When I didn't realize that you have to go to a specific, college of journalism or college of education, and at the time I think I wanted to be a teacher, so I went to the College of Education and enrolled, and I think after the first semester I switched to journalism.
Who were some of the professors that stood out for you?
I cannot remember their names. There were several in journalism that I can remember their faces and the classes, but right now I can't remember their names. I think one is still there, actually.
Did you work on the O'Colly?
I did. And very few of my stories got published. They just weren't dynamic enough. I was more of a feature writer.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the soft stories, the people stories.
Well, great experience. Did any of you probably didn't really know anybody then at OSU when you entered, since you'd gone to school in these different places. You didn't enter with friends.
No, but I made some really good friends there.
Where did you stay?
I lived in my own apartment.
From the beginning?
From the beginning, yes. That was an interesting experience. living alone with a cat. I had a cat.
And paying the bills and
And
going
paying
to
the
school.
bills. My dad was very generous, and he helped out with school, and from my job I was able to pay my rent, and I didn't drive, so I didn't have to worry about a car, insurance, or gas. So in Stillwater, you can walk everywhere.
Right. Was there another favorite class or two you had outside of your major?
I took poetry with Nuala Archer, and I really enjoyed that class. I took all the poetry classes I could, the advanced, and I don't know if it went any farther than that, but it kind of spoiled me on reading other people's poems.
Mm-hmm. Cool. What buildings did you have your classes in?
Well, mainly the journalism building. I can't remember all of them. Wow. I do remember the second semester I was at school, I had some kind of chemistry or ag class all the way across campus early in the morning. I dropped out that semester. I could not handle that. So I didn't know what else. And at the time, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I dropped out and I went back to school.
Was it hard to get back in?
No, I think once I figured out what I wanted to do, I enrolled and got my degree in 3 years after that. So, because I would take summer school as well.
Right. How about did you have time for a social life between working and going to school?
I sure did.
Well, tell us a little bit about that. What were some fun things that you did?
We would, I met, oddly enough, I met somebody in my first semester in speech class who was from Mannford. And we got to be friends, and he's still here now in Mannford. And then through him, I met some other people, Brad and Mark, and we hung out, and we would go to different functions, concerts. There was Stephen Wright, the comedian. I remember we went to go see him. I remember we went to see the movie Eraserhead on campus. And I don't know if you've seen that movie. It's weird.
Yes, I've heard it's very intense.
The director accomplished what he wanted to accomplish, because we walked out of there just feeling weird. So, and you know, just hang out at people's homes, or I remember Eskimo Joe's when they only served Coors and Coors Light, and they didn't have t-shirts or cheese fries.
Right. But that is interesting that you ended up in Mannford and you were hanging out with the Manford group.
Well, one of the Manford group actually introduced me to my first husband, who was from Mannford. And so after I graduated from OSU, we moved back here. But
did you marry after graduation? Or
yes. There's another weird story. when I was going to college, I was dating a young man named Morgan. And him and I and his family were going to Big Splash in Tulsa. And there were several women in the car, so we had to stop for a tinkle break. And we happened to stop in Mannford. There was a gas station at the intersection here in town. And I remember getting out of the car and going, oh my gosh, who would live here? I would never live here, because I didn't see anything else. I thought, well, this was it. Oh my gosh. Never say never.
Oh, that's a cute story. What do you remember about things like homecoming at OSU? Or parades, or...
I'm trying to remember if I went to... I think I went to one homecoming parade. I saw my first streaker at OSU. I think it was down by Washington Street. Yeah.
In between classes? Or...
No, I think it was like... There was something going on. It was like either holiday, 'cause things get kind of crazy around Halloween and or homecoming, and
right.
So I seem to remember there was a lot of activity out and about, and then that.
How about memories of the library?
I remember doing a lot of research papers and having to go into the library. I'm the world's best or worst procrastinator, so I would wait till a few days before it was due and just do everything I could in one night. And I remember there's some places in that library that look a little bit scary. I would not go down that aisle. I'd find some other reference to use. Or you'd open a book and there would be pages cut out. And I thought, who would do that? That's terrible.
How about memories of Theta Pond or sporting events? I don't know if you went much to sporting events.
I've never really been into sports, so I didn't ever go to any sporting events. I had my one and only blind date at Theta Pond.
Well, how was that?
That was not good. That was, it started out fine, but then he mentioned that he was really into certain types of activities that were shocking to me, and so I was like, okay, bye.
Good, you were meeting in a real public place.
Yes, I was thankful for that.
How about any memories, special memories of graduation day?
I had a false graduation because my last semester I took a statistics class, which my math brain is not fully developed. I did not pass statistics, but I went through the ceremony anyway, because I didn't know I didn't pass yet. We hadn't gotten our grades. So I ended up having to take a couple classes after that to make up for that.
Right. Now, after graduation, what did you do next?
I moved to Manford and got married and experienced culture shock, because I went from New Orleans
Yes.
to Stillwater to Mannford, and it was very, very different. And we lived out in the country, and it was, I didn't drive. And
Because you didn't have a car, or you just hadn't learned?
both. So my brother was teaching me how to drive, and I took the driver's test, or not driver's test, the permit test. I got that, and then eventually I got my driver's license and a car, and as soon as I got mobile, I went and applied at the Manford Eagle newspaper here in town and got the job as reporter. And about a year after that, the editor moved on, and I became the editor of the newspaper.
Wow, so you put your journalism degree to use.
I did. And I worked there a couple years, and that's how I got to know the town and people. And then all the time I was working at the Manford animal clinic as a kind of a vet tech, but I wasn't skilled in.
You were doing that part-time in addition to, okay.
I cleaned cages and stuff like that, and bathed dogs, and I loved that job so much that I just didn't want to quit, so I worked both jobs. So 60, 70 hours a week got to be a little much. So after a while, I left the Manford Eagle, and a gentleman started up his own newspaper called the Manford Star, and I went to work for him as the editor. And I would come down, I would go to different places every week, you know, ask you to see what was going on and take pictures. And the library was one of my regular stops. And the director started asking me if I wanted to help her out with story time. And so I said, sure. So I would come down and I would do story time with the kids. And eventually a position opened up here, and I was becoming increasingly disillusioned with the newspaper business. So I left there and went to work here.
Were you finding you didn't get to pursue the stories you wanted, or?
Might have been a personality conflict. And there was other things. I was meeting other newspaper editors who had become hardened, I guess, to some situations that were very sensitive. And I thought, I don't want to get to that point. I don't want to have a collection of accident pictures in my desk. So I thought, I better get out now.
So this position opened up, and it was just for a librarian.
It was just for a librarian, and actually it was one full-time position, but I guess between the library board and the director, I don't know, they couldn't decide on just one person, so they hired two of us for part-time positions. And the other girl eventually went on to bigger and better things. I think she became a teacher, and so they offered me the full-time job.
What have been some of the opportunities working for a small town library?
What do you mean?
What have been some of the good things about working for a small town library?
You get to see people grow up. Of course, I don't know if that, I mean, that's it's good when people come back and say, this is my son or daughter, and I remember when I came in here and you gave me my library card. And I think, they're much older, and I'm not. So that's neat, watching people grow up and being a part of the community, because we try to do things within the community. We were recently at a health and safety fair at the elementary school. We always try to be in the Christmas parade and that kind of thing. So I think the best part of this job is the people.
And you have one person working under you, is that right?
Yes, we just lost our part-time person, so I've been interviewing and just today hired somebody.
Okay. And how about some of the challenges of being director of a small town library?
Well, the city is really good to us. If I look at and talk to my colleagues, and we have a really good budget, but sometimes it still doesn't seem to be enough money. When you want to buy books, and our space is limited right now. We're looking at expanding. But until then, whatever books we put in, we have to take something out. So that's challenging.
Have you expanded the book collection much since you've been here?
I think we have. We've added, I'm pretty sure we added 2 full shelves since I've been here. So yeah, it's grown quite a bit. We're bursting at the seams.
I hope you get that new space.
Yes.
How did you get involved with the Manford Historical Society?
When I started working at the Manford Eagle, one of the ladies who helped, she was on the ground floor when the Historical Society formed, and she invited me to come to a meeting because she wanted the newspaper to have a connection with the Historical Society, because good publicity is everything. And so I started going to the meetings, and then I joined.
And what are the goals of the society?
I think I have a brochure. Because it's probably better, more eloquent in here than I could come up with. Seeks to record and promote the historic diversity of the land and settlements that once stood close to the junction of the Cimarron and Arkansas rivers.
Okay. And it's really a beautiful area.
It is.
It's a beautiful area.
The museum, which is at that end of the of town, across from McDonald's, we're actually on one of the highest points in town. You can see the lake really well from there.
Oh,
it's
wow.
really amazing.
I'll have to take a trip up there.
Yeah.
Now you belong to the Manford Pilots Association, which I understand helps children with brain injuries.
I was going to look that up. Let's see, we call it the ABCs of Pilot. Wow. I'm blanking out right now on the Pilot Club. Yes, we visit the pre-K school and do presentations on helmet safety and crossing the street and that sort of thing. And We've recently been helping the LD classes at the schools get the equipment that they need. We've also helped the nursing home. I think one year they bought TVs, big screen TVs for them. We recently started going up there once a month and doing a story hour.
So it's intergenerational services you provide.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how neat. So you meet once or twice a month? Or
We meet twice. Pilot Club meets twice a month.
Twice a month.
Yeah.
And how about your animal rescue work? Do you?
I think she's exaggerated about that. Of course, I have 2 dogs that have been 3 dogs that are rescued, but I have 4 altogether. Well, I guess they've all been rescued. And let me think, I got 5 cats. They were all... Last one wasn't a rescue.
But it's true that in the country people dump animals a lot, don't they?
They do. And that's one thing that's really near and dear to our hearts up here is a couple times a year the library tries to do something for the animal shelter. Like we'll have a Santa Paws tree.
Oh, great.
And I plan on doing something this summer during our reading program to benefit the animal shelter. So, in fact, I have a bag of leashes in my car right now for them.
How neat. It really does position you to do some different things for the community, doesn't it?
It does. I never envisioned I would be here or this active in my town.
Or claim Mannford as your town.
Exactly.
Well, how do you think OSU earning your degree there impacted your life overall?
Well, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for OSU. And even though I didn't end up pursuing my degree, I think I'm where I'm supposed to be, and none of that would have happened without OSU. It also, going to school, it taught me discipline and responsibility and respect, and all of that I had at home, but you know, it's different outside of the home. So
how do you show your OSU pride? Is that important to you?
it is. It's very important. However, the librarian, that other librarian that works here, she's an OU grad, and it's funny because you know there's this back and forth about OU and OSU, and for a while I welcomed that here between us, but then I guess I just took it a little more personal than she intended it. So I said, hey, guess what? We're not doing that anymore. Because OU's a good school. They have good programs, and it's a beautiful campus. But, you know, so is OSU, and they're better. But it's so crazy here because there's people that are, you know, some people are vehemently one way or the other.
Do you think it's sort of divided territory then? Is it sort of half and half, or?
I think it's probably 45-45, and then there's a small percentage that are that family are both. So,
Right.
so we can get along.
What are some ways that you've stayed connected to OSU? You don't really mention that you don't really care for the sports scene, but what are some other ways you've stayed connected?
Well, I try to read the, I think it's called The State magazine, which my brother helps put together. My husband works in Stillwater, not for OSU, but I still go there. My dad has, or let me start over. My mom started a scholarship program in my dad's name at the School of Journalism and Broadcasting, and they have a dinner every year honoring and giving out their awards and stuff, and so we go to that, and I try to keep up with what's happening, and sometimes I go there and I'll pick up an O'Collie, and I feel so old.
That's neat. The scholarship is a neat thing. What advice would you give to OSU students today?
That's a good one. Follow your heart. Do what you want to do. Don't do what somebody else expects you to do. Because it's true, you know, do what you love, and you never work a day in your life. Well, maybe some days, but you know, it's worth it to have a job that you care about.
Right.
I remember when I was going there, I had one of my friends that I hung out with, Brad. He said when he started going to OSU, somebody told him that, oh, if you fail a class and you take it over, if you get a better grade, that cancels out the bad grade. So, and he believed them. and then there were students who just wouldn't come to class, and I thought, why? Because it's not cheap, but so I don't understand why people would enroll and then not go. That was perplexing.
How about faculty or administrators? Do you have any advice for them?
I remember I wanted to succeed and do well in a class when I thought that the professor or TA cared about me. Maybe not, you know, they didn't know my favorite color or my middle name or anything like that, but they cared about how I did in class, and that meant something.
What can you tell us about Mannford or Creek County even that a visitor should know or see or experience?
There is an incredible amount of history here that I've walked down to caves that have petroglyphs in them, and of course there's caves that the Dalton and Doolin gangs have hid out in, but what cave in Oklahoma hasn't housed a criminal like that? I don't know. I mean, I'm at a loss again.
Well, the petroglyph caves are special, and certainly just the lake, being near the lake.
Yeah, being out on the lake is pretty special.
It seems like a lot of OSU students and alumni are really loyal to the school. What do you think it is about OSU that sparks such loyalty?
I think sometimes it feels like a really big family. You know, we're all connected some way. You can see an OSU person somewhere else completely and in another state, and you'll connect. I think that's neat, and you're like, oh, we're friends, and it's just because they went to OSU. It just feels like family.
Is there anything that you'd like to add that we didn't cover today?
Oh, I don't know, probably, but I can't think of anything. It's really strange. You called like the day after. That friend that I mentioned that I met my first semester,
Right.
has had a tragedy in his life, and so I've had to contact my other friends that, you know, were a part of the group, and so we can all pray for him and his family.
Be there for him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I can't think of anything else. I know that some of the best memories I have were when I was going to college. And I hear people talk about college and it being hard work, and it was, but I had fun too. And I think I had a 4.0 in English and a 3.5 in journalism. So I wasn't a slouch, but
No, and you were working on top of that, so
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
it's important to make time for that.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, thank you for your time today, Colleen.
Well, you're welcome, Julie. Thank you.